A few days back, all across the world, people and organizations celebrated the World Environment Day. Here in Nigeria, many voices joined other nations to echo the rising challenge of plastic waste and how dangerous it has become to our ecosystem. On our community report this week, we went around town in search of young people who are doing their bit to help save our communities. Welcome, I'm Olu Phillips. Over 7 billion people are reported to be living on Earth. Spread across continents and sea, these numbers have been viewed differently for different purposes. As the world's population continues to grow, so has the amount of garbage, for instance, that these people produce. The concept of a global village also means that activity in one region can as well impact on a remote location in another part of the world. Lifestyles have become fast-paced as it has become universal. And one way to look at the impact is in the consumption patterns of packaged products, disposables, soda cans, and plastic bags. Already, these lifestyles are generating lots of discourse because of the increasing amount of pollution of plastics around the world. In many countries like Nigeria, plastic bags of varying size and shape are a major cause of blocked drains, especially in city centers. As a global challenge being tackled aggressively in some countries, estimates for plastic dumps say 80% of all pollution in the ocean comes from people on the land.
The way we generate waste, for instance, should be a cause for concern. And much more than that, the way we manage our waste. I know government on its part have been trying, at least within the metropolis, to ensure that people manage their waste, properly. And there's what they call the duty of care. It is the responsibility of anyone that generates waste to see to the proper disposal of such waste. But it is so obvious that we are not hidden, to that. We are not concerned about our environment. We are not. We don't want to leave the earth a better place than we met it, for the children that are coming. This beach should have been a place, for government to even generate funds through tourism. But I don't see who will want to come into this field to enjoy nature as it is. So we need to do something. If we want to earn money using our beaches, we must be ready to clean up and teach people how to keep, imbibe a healthy habit. A clean, habit, desiring to live in a very clean environment. That's what we need to do.
Tons of plastic ends up in the ocean, endangering wildlife. Fishes eat plastics, and we eat fish. Interestingly, plastics are incredibly useful materials, but it's also made from very toxic compounds capable of causing illness. The composition of plastic means that they are not biodegradable. Waste management has become a big deal, a constant talking point because of the possibility that it portends. At best, before now, wastes were usually burnt. But as environmental concerns increased, options are opening, and some young Nigerians are finding values for plastic waste.
Since 2013, when I was in school, I discovered that some of us are just so careless about, littering waste around the environment. So what the idea that now came in, I said, okay, what can we do to ensure that this pure water nylon, is used for something it can benefit the corporate society and also the low-income earners. So we have to bridge a gap in that regard. So I now came with the idea of trying to transform the environmental nuisance into a useful product.
Necessity has clearly become the bedrock of these innovations being pursued by Olayemi in one of the suburbs of Lagos.
So these are the whole lot of waste they've gathered together for us to use in making up all the useful varieties like the bags, the shoes, the raincoat, and many more. We are as well using the bag as an instrument to send a sensitization messages to people so as to correct the habit of people littering waste around the environment. So that is our mission. So we are coming out as an environmental rescue mission, just to bridge the gap between the corporate communities and the low-income earners so that we can solve the problem of this plastic waste, littered all around the streets and our communities. Then we remove the unwanted ones, the ones we feel that they are not needed for our work. So it must be mild. It must not be too hard on the colors. So all of these we are putting together. They are just a way to start with. They are just ways of starting with so as to see that the pure water sachet is actually used for a useful product.
Every day is another opportunity to innovate as far as his ideas of creating useful items from waste products.
This initiative is a mind-blowing initiative. So that is now a phase of creating the interest of corporate communities into the project. Then, why the low-income earners? Once they are buying more product of this, when we are transforming them into useful products, the sachet water waste will become a value. And when it's become a value like that, you will discover that you will not see it around. The chances of you seeing it around, littering around the streets, will be quite very, very minimal. So we are trying to put in our best to bridge in that gap because our population is waxing stronger and nobody's complaining. We are all in the environment and we want a more cleaner environment and a better environment. So we are now trying to create this platform whereby we give it to the low-income earners. So as the populace around with it, it's actually advertise them. And again, it approaches people's mind, approaches people's attention to it. Whenever we normally make all of these things here, people at times, they want to wait and say, wow, pure water nylon, is it real? This is true, wow. And so we now came up with the idea of giving it out to people. And when we gave it out to people and it was quite durable, we're like, okay, let's progress. And so the phase we are looking at is to look at the attention of the corporate communities, the government, to buy more of these. Because this environmental nuisance, by the time it's being shedding into our streets, from our streets to our drains, from our drains to our oceans. And some of all these fishes, they consume them and they all die. So we are now looking at it that, okay, since we are growing of this size of population, we should create a platform where we create a platform for the incoming generation to actually see into this and to key into this value chain of production. So to water free it, we have to beat it. Or rather, we beat it on the stool.
He's done it consistently enough that he now knows how much bag of plastic waste can go into the production of a byproduct. Besides, from the community where he produces these items, times are changing as more and more people now live with the consciousness of waste conversion.
We all have the environment, okay? We all live in this environment, and we cannot just fold our hands up and look at our environment go littered. People just do the way, people just mismanage their environment. They just try to dispose waste in the drains, dispose bottle something. So this bag is just an instrument. By the time the corporate communities gives to people, and those powerful environmental slogans are being written on those bags, it helps in sending that message, in correcting the habit of people littering waste around the environment. So it serves two purposes, is to advertise them, and at the same time, sending those advocacy message, those environmental slogans that are going to start pasting on all those bags, so as to correct the habit. Because what it needs that, it needs sensitization. People need to know the danger behind the litters all around the street, because once these litters are on the street, it goes to the drains, from the drains to the canals, from the canals to the rivers. And do you know what it means when all these things are being buried inside the river? Most of all the aquatic planters, they go die.
Imagine a society in major cities across Nigeria where plastic wastes are now treated as useful raw materials and more people take disposal seriously and appropriately too. A community where there's an expanded and upgraded knowledge of these items and how they should be used. Stories like these abound in our communities. People are looking at waste, especially non-biodegradable items, from a different viewpoint.